Good morning. This is my reflection on the third Sunday of Advent. This is a quote from Dietrich Bonhoeffer from his Christmas sermons. The blessedness of waiting is lost on those who cannot wait, and the fulfillment of the promise is never theirs. They want quick answers to the deepest questions of life and miss the value of those times of anxious waiting, seeking with patient uncertainties until the answers come. They lose the moment when the answers are revealed with dazzling clarity. The greatest, the deepest, the most tender experiences in all the world demand patient waiting. It may seem an odd question. It's an Advent question. What are you waiting for? But really, are you not actually always waiting for something? We go through life waiting to graduate from school, waiting to fall in love, waiting for the pain to end, waiting to find your work, your new home, waiting for daffodils to bloom, waiting for the next bus, for the next episode of your favourite show, waiting for the news on the radio, waiting for the doctor's call, for the diagnosis, waiting to feel well again, waiting for it all to end. The list is endless, but these are just surface things we wait for. More deeply, I think we wait to be judged. We wait to find out if we were good enough, clever enough, successful enough, liked enough, loved enough. We imagine ourselves hovering just above the ground, invisible, listening to the eulogy over our own casket, over our life as we lift it. What will they say about me? We wait to hear. On Saturday, it was the anniversary of my father's death, and 6 days after, the anniversary of my mother's death, a year later. We stood by the caskets and stumbled for words, for feelings that evade speech, and we chose, as one always does, to let some things go and try to lift up all that was good and loving and true, of which there was much. I don't want to leave it until then, waiting for someone else's summary of my existence. You might choose not to either. Actually, the focus of the words of the Bible readings for this Sunday invite you to consider not just what you're already waiting for, but what you would like to wait for between now and your death. For most of us at St. Andrew's, and those beyond who are reading this or listening to my voice, that date is getting closer, measurably. Isaiah. Really, you should read more Isaiah. It's hard work, but the man had a depth to him and an openness to hearing God's whispers. His writings are his attempts to clothe in words movements in his soul, the breath of God lifting the sails of his heart or crashing his boat onto the rocks. Captive, oppressed and broken-hearted, grieving, he waits in the pain, not seeking to escape it. He waits in his grief, not wishing it away or drowning it in cheery false optimism, but holding his ashes and looking at them to find where the joy of God is in all this, beyond it, through it. Waiting without a sense of how it works. In his pain and in his brokenness, he believes that he will be raised up, transformed from his weakness and the fatigue of grief into something as utterly unexpectable as becoming a towering oak tree. Paul, writing to the church in Thessalonica, says to them, "Rejoice! There is evil around you? Yes. Now, look at it and know it and choose not to go that way." To do that, you have to wait in the evil. Come to know it, understand it, not judge or dismiss it, but reach out into it in love. Evil is not a diabolical product. It is so often the failure to love, to respect, to pay attention, The person who hurts you may be in pain from someone else's battering. Most of the evil we deal with is from personal relationships that hurt us. The death of the one you loved. The end of a friendship through something missaid. The loss of trust we see in the face of the one we hurt. But we never now mention that moment when trust or faith was broken. Paul says, stay in prayer mode. Find the threads of gratitude. The Gospel tells us Mary's song. It's called the Magnificat, which I always thought was something about a rather prize-winning feline. But pause to think. Here is a young woman, barely no longer a girl, pregnant, out of wedlock in a culture where that is not okay, who gets up and goes alone and unprotected across bandit territory to see the only person she can tell her story to, Auntie Liz, who had a baby crazy late in life and everyone looked askance at her. Mary isn't solving the problem. Mary is trying to dive into something more deeply. She's not judging, but seeking the truth of God within what has happened to her. Maybe, she thinks, Auntie Liz could tell me how she found her way through this. Here is the waiting of Advent. Choosing to stay still, to be quiet and listen, to feel your feelings, pay attention, to panic, but don't go there. Feel the exaltation, the success, but don't fly up there. Just wait a while. Allow the griefs and hurt and the disappointment of that one vital person's inability to love you well enough, and look through it, down its dark tunnel, to the pain from which all evil and anger wells up. Find and name the pain in you that you discover as you wait with it, and pray, and bring the one who entered death to heal and close that woundedness. It feels like I've gone to rather a dark place in this reflection. That's not what anyone wants from their priest, just as we're hanging decorations. But remember the words we began with. Scroll up and read them again. Pay attention to the last line. The greatest, the deepest, the most tender experiences in all the world demand patient waiting. God is not in heaven, far away, nor in a spotless place of perfection. God is actually in your messy life, and mostly in the broken bits. If you will go to the place of pain and ask Jesus, or Mary, or God, to hold your hand and just wait, knowing you are now safe, and things may begin to change. Look at what happened. Ask to be shown what and where that came from. Turn the picture around and see things from different angles, the perspective of others. Come, having put judgment aside, and ask God to show you what you need to heal and to be joyful again. Wait. Don't rush to the conclusions you would like. Wait. It may take minutes or hours or weeks or years. Allow the pain, the joy, the tears, or the laughter. At Christmas, in a terrible mess, Jesus was born in a way no mother or father would desire. Into the terrible mess and unacceptability of our jumbled souls, Jesus comes. Quietly, powerlessly, needing our attention like a baby. Jesus hopes you will wait long enough to notice him waiting for you. Then, without denying the mess and the smell of the barn, he might take your hand gently and show you sunrise. Oh, somebody's phoning me while I'm doing this. So, then, without denying the mess and the smell of the barn, he might take your hand gently and show you the sunrise and how its rays make the barn beautiful. And where you have not laughed or cried for a long time, you might find joy arise in your heart, and tears long held back may wash away that pain. And that is redemption, simply happening to you. In Advent we wait. The deepest, the greatest, the most tender experiences in all the world demand patient waiting. Wait with the story of Jesus' birth. Wait with your story. Amen. Do we make this stop?